Across Northern Ireland, people are re-examining the way they think about health.
Paracetamol, cocodamol, benzoflumethiazide.
Changes in our society have meant that many people are now doing better but feeling worse.
And these here's for my stomach, for all the tablets that I was taking. And the more tablets I took, the worse I got.
Despite taking more prescription drugs than anywhere else in the UK, our confidence in them and our hospitals is at an all-time low. For decades, patients have been turning to complementary and alternative therapies for a new approach, and in 2006, the government controversially decided to do the same.
This is the most significant thing that's happened in complementary medicine in the UK ever.
The Getwell scheme will provide complementary therapies to patients paid for by the NHS and could potentially transform the way our health service works.
All over the world, people are paying attention to this. This is government-level interest in integrated healthcare, and it's really exciting.
Through the scheme, the government hopes to find out if it can make patients better and less dependent on expensive prescription drugs. But do these therapies really have anything to offer, or will we now be pampering as well as poisoning patients?
If it was as simple as getting your toes feathered with and all human misery would disappear, it would be wonderful, but that ain't how it is.
This is the story of the doctors, therapists and patients who participated in this new scheme. The contract to deliver the Getwell scheme was won by Boo Armstrong, director of Getwell UK, who are based in London.
I think my drive is that it's just totally outrageous that we pay taxes for the NHS and then we get medicine that makes us ill and not medicine that gets us better, often. You know, so then people who've got money can afford to buy complementary medicine, which often works, so they're paying twice for their health, and people haven't got the spare cash to pay twice, well, they're left to get sick in an NHS which actually is about sickness, not health.
A campaigner for the use of complementary and alternative medicines, Boo and her organisation believe that these therapies can not only save the NHS money, but treat and even heal patients, many of whom have been given up on by doctors.
A kind of medicine that's only looking at one symptom, it's never going to work. You know, if I've got pain in my knee, often they'll go in and say, you need surgery on your knee, we're going to cut it open and then you've got to heal from the trauma of the surgery and all that. It's like, let's just take a balanced look at the whole of your body and then figure out what's wrong and take it from there.
The ethos of Getwell UK is to bring complementary therapies to patients who can't normally afford them. The Getwell scheme will cost £200,000 and will provide therapies to patients in two areas of Northern Ireland, the Hollywood Arches Health Centre in East Belfast and the Shantallow Health Centre in Londonderry.
We are working in two cities, in Belfast and Derry, and for 1 year there's a spotlight on Northern Ireland and complementary medicine, and it's in everyone's best interest to make it work.
The scheme will run for 1 year, finishing in March 2008. If successful, it could change health policy in Northern Ireland and even have a knock-on effect for the rest of the UK.
Obviously, Belfast, all of Northern Ireland, has a wealth of politics, extraordinary people, and an environment that's very different to the one that I grew up in. But on top of that, there's immense poverty, suicide at a rate that I've never known about anywhere else. And there was one project where one of the key members of staff couldn't come in because she was threatened with death, and there'd been a firebomb next door. I remember at the time actually just feeling gutted that I was part of a country that was perpetuating war in Iraq at the time, and we haven't even cleaned up the mess in our own country in Northern Ireland.
Shantallow, on the outskirts of Derry City, is one of the most underprivileged areas of Northern Ireland. It consists of a number of large housing estates. Trouble and conflict in this area have been present right from the outset, and many of the women who live here or on medication for depression and anxiety.
The troubles, when a bomb went off and you run it, or there was shooting and you run into the house for shelter, the Valiums came out on a little tray and were passed around. So the Valium had been on the market, you know, for a long time. People have built up that any time they were getting bad news, it was, you know, sent over across the street and ask Sally to send us over half a dozen diazepam. And this, you could see, was going on a lot. People were getting more and more dependent on sedatives and tranquilizers.
They were yellow things, they called them yellow bombs, and I think they were sleeping tablets or something.
Right.
And I had them, and the man's dead now, God have mercy, he's dead about 20 years. So the doctor, I save all prescriptions.
Right.
If you end up in that kitchen now, you'll find tablets and everything that I collected from different people.
Right.
I do my own sort of medication, you know.
My brother-in-law, he started off with a bit of anxiety. He was given diazepam and all this. And he ended up where he was totally addicted to all these kinds of medication. And there was a case, he even went to a wake one night. It was a friend of his had died, and this man had died. And before he left the house, he asked the widow, did he have any medication left behind that he could take home? Because he wasn't getting enough, he felt he wasn't getting enough. But he was on that much, he ended up where his kidneys gave up on him and he died.
Unattended ills mean not only the loss of manpower, but the possibility of permanent injury to health. And in a democracy, the well-being of every individual is a matter of the first importance.
A general practitioner over the years was the most holistic person there was, and they would take time and get to know you and know about your housing and know that that damp flat isn't doing your chest any good, and I'll write to the council and try and help you. Doctors have always understood, and you know, your brothers and your sisters and stuff. And somehow the system is making it now that a doctor has less time to spend with you. You, because of peer pressure, advertising, a whole bunch of stuff that's taken 180 years to develop or whatever, want drugs. You know, and that's the exchange that we have.
Doctors and patients alike appear to be losing faith in a health service that is inefficient and drug-centred, and many are looking for new ways to give patients back an involvement in their own health. The complementary therapies that Getwell UK will be providing are intended to work alongside the GP in a way that will be integrated into the health service. The therapies available through the Getwell scheme will include homeopathy, acupuncture, osteopathy and chiropractic.
In the chiropractic world, we call this a kickstart. A bit like you kickstart a motorbike. That's it, lovely.
As well as aromatherapy and reflexology. Their practitioners argue that these therapies can do what the drugs are intended to do without side effects or dependency. The Shantallow Health Centre has been asked to take part in the Getwell scheme. Dr Anne McCluskey is a GP within the practice.
I did a surgery this morning, I saw 20 people. 2 emergencies and there was a house call. There's also about 15 maybe phone calls to be done and about 40 requests for acute prescriptions. So I mean, I didn't get time to paint my toenails this morning at all. This is our front reception area, complete with this year's Christmas decorations, which haven't been put away yet because we're such a modern cutting-edge practice. Whenever, as happens, someone gets something awful happening to them, you know, you feel it because they're, you know, at a level they're your friends. And certainly, yeah, I've cried with people, I've laughed with people, I've got angry with people. You know, you're doing this stuff with them, not for them or at them. The referrals come from GP. I would be worried, concerned that it's seen as we orthodox medical practitioners who regard people as a pair of dicky kidneys or a knackered liver, and you know, that's sort of the perception of orthodox medicine. And we're hand in glove with these pharmaceutical companies and we just want to give them all pills and make them better. And that's not the way it works. In my opinion, there's no such thing as a pure physical problem and a pure psychological problem. I mean, there's massive sort of overlap. And that's an issue that I think maybe the whole complementary medicine thing is maybe putting into sharp focus.